Hey guys, it's Marty and welcome to Two Line Slot Cars. Since we went to the Nationals race in November, in the back of my mind, I've been thinking about redesigning my layout. Now I know there's a lot of people who really liked my layout. It was a modified figure 8, and people were asking me for the layout all the time, but I felt like there were some things that layout was not providing us that a new design might. So let's dig in and check out the new layout. So in November, we went to the Nationals race in Michigan, the NSR Eastern Nationals. It was a great experience. I've already done a lot of videos talking about that, but I came home and built my wood oval track. And I've spent a lot of time on the wood routed oval. But in the back of my mind, I knew I was sort of bored with the old layout over here on this table. And it wasn't because I didn't like the layout. We really loved that layout. It was a modified figure 8. It had S-turns, which are a requirement for me. But it really I didn't feel like it set us up for success on the Nationals layout. The Nationals layout, I've said this before, lots of people get upset when I do. It was a very European style of layout. And I think it's what you get from Polycar or Scale Auto. The Nationals track is a Scale Auto track. When we set the track up, we all got there a day early so that the next morning we could get up and go help them set up the track. And Oliver from Professor Motor and Mike from Cloverleaf, they had put this race together, and they obviously had worked a lot putting together a layout. And when we saw the map, it looked like it was a gigantic layout, and it was a pretty big layout. It was an 8-lane Scale Auto track. Coming into it, we thought it was going to be 2 4-lane tracks, but it ended up being 1 8-lane track, and that was pretty fun to learn. So we show up, we help set up the track. It's a really cool track. The layout is very interesting. It's got a couple long straights, some technical, a couple really sharp turns. I knew that we weren't really prepared. We had not been on a track that maybe had that tight of an R1 turn. Polycar, Scale Auto, Scalectric have an R1 that's pretty tight. That Scale Auto R1 was really, really tight. Now, for the longest time, my layout when I was a 2-lane, I moved away from R1s. We didn't want R1s. We thought R1s destroyed the flow of the track. And I talked a lot about that, and there were a lot of people that tuned in my channel that agreed. Like, get rid of the R1s, only R2s, 3s, and 4s for Carrera. And I don't know. They were very flowy tracks that we had, but I felt like we were in a little bit of a trouble because there were no R1s in our layout. And so when I rearranged it and went to the modified figure 8 for 4-lane, we had a couple of R1 turns. And I think that layout really helped us learn to navigate those turns a little better. I think we were better prepared. But when I came back, I was like, what could I do to this layout? Our old layout was only about 54 feet. I did some recalculation, and I think I was always saying like it was 56 feet. It really was only 54 feet in the outside lane. But it had a bridge, so all the lanes should have been the same length. So there was that. But one thing there was no bridge, there was no overpass, sight lines for the most part for the Nationals track. It was a flat track. It was very, very easy to see the cars all the way around. There was one Marshall post that was kind of tough to see around. It was into an R1, really tight turn. So once we figured that out from a couple driver stations, it was really fine. But I knew that I wanted to go back and redesign this track, but I didn't want to get in a hurry. So that would have been in November. So all through December, I started designing and sent a few of the designs out to Dusty and John Mark and my buddy Greg and from Velocity Slot Car Parts, because I felt like he had a really good sense of what we might be looking for when it comes to the Nationals track and what we might be able to build with Carrera. Now, let me talk just a little bit about the differences. Dave Kennedy posted a great picture on his page and the Slot Car News page, and it had all of the different types of track and their turn radiuses in a big circle. So you could see, one, how many lanes you could go with each brand, and the relative size, right? How it matched up. And an R1 turn on Carrera falls in right around between the R2 and R3 from Scale Auto. The R1 is really tight, but we can't recreate that in Carrera. But I knew I wanted to incorporate a few more R1s. I wanted to incorporate some more technical, so that we get a little better drive, a little better at that. I personally still wanted some S turns, but I did want a couple of point and shoot type of straightaways where you've got to really use your brake. There were only really 2 brake points that you really had to get on the brakes on the old layout. And with the new layout, I knew I wanted more. I wanted some different braking zones. I wanted some different challenges. I've had a lot of people who have seen this go, why don't you make a big wide turn at the end? The Nationals track has a big long straight on the brakes, a right-hand turn, and then another short shoot into a really pretty tight, starting with an R2 turn as the inside to the right. So it had 2 really good right-handers at the end of shoots, straights that you really had to work your trigger, right? You had to really get your brakes dialed in. And so I wanted a track that would have that challenge. So when I set out to design, I wanted that long front straight visually so that it would match the Nationals track, and then those 2 right-handers. And it's not exactly like the Nationals track. The Nationals track was about a 30-foot by 30-foot square. I don't have that kind of room. Plus, I'm only building 4 lanes, not 8 lanes, right? But I wanted a similar feel. And so this is what I ended up with. We'll take a real quick tour. One of the things that I wanted to do when I rebuilt this was really make it feel like a really good club track. One of the videos I posted was our buddy Steve Holzman, the Brown Bison Raceway. And Steve did an awesome job in the details of finishing when it comes to his guardrails, his bridges. Everything was very neat and tidy and just had a great finished look. It's why I say it's one of the nicest home 2-lane tracks out there in the United States in Carrera. I mean, I put that 2-lane track up against anybody. It's about 30, 35 feet long, about 10, 12 feet wide, the table. It's 120 some feet in lane length. It is a blast. It is a great track. It is a lot of fun. I've had tons of people reach out and say, man, I love this layout. It is one of the nicest layouts. And not only was it the layout, but it was the atmosphere. He had a beautiful property. The garage that is the home for the slot car track is wonderful. It's just a great place. And I'm in this basement. And, it's a basement of an old Victorian house built in the late 1800s. It's 126 years old, 27 years old. I wanted the layout to feel like a really good club. So I really focused on the details. When I rebuilt it, I wanted to make sure that everything was neat and clean. We had driver stations. We had really nice guardrails. So I retired all of my poster board guardrails. So for those of you who have tuned into that and made your own poster board guardrails, those are still great. The binder clips are great. But you do spend a lot of time like taking up the slack and putting binder clips back on, and I just didn't want that. My track always felt unfinished. This track, I wanted it to feel like it was finished. And so I killed the power, and as I built the track, the last thing I did was turn the power on and start to run a car. I made sure that I had almost 99% of the track completed before I did that, because I knew once I started running laps on it, that's all I'd want to do. And then I would just not finish things. Now that I've run some laps, there are a few things I want to do, but let's go jump to the track, take a real quick tour. I'll talk about the turn radiuses. I'll talk about the guardrails. I'll talk about all the things that I did with the table. I had to expand the table because once I designed it, what I wanted, I needed to go about 6 inches deeper on the table for most of it. And I was afraid that I was going to cut the back wall off, that we'd never be able to get back there. And it does present a few problems. I'll talk about that in the tour. But let's go check out the new 2-line Speedway here on 4th Street in Chillicothe, Ohio. So let's go. Okay, so let's talk about the layout. Let's start here at the timing. My handmade timing system have had issues, slight issues, and I think we finally got them figured out. And a lot of it has to do with lighting and reflection. And when multiple cars go across the lights, the timing lights, reflecting and causing other lights to lap count. The thing is it would mess up the time, but it would not mess up the laps. So the laps from day one have, with this setup, have been accurate, and that's what counts. But it did prevent us from having some really like correct fast lap times. So again, let's go down the straight. Start finish line. There's the digital CU. You can see the driver stations. I even have a wet tire cleaning station here. I probably need to add a basket or something for the dry part of that. So here's your right-hander, and this is a 230 turn all the way through. Okay, 230 turns. So it's not slam on the brakes completely when you get to the end of that long straight, but you've got to really pay attention. If you carry your speed well, like you can really bump it here, and here is where we have an R1 and R2s, and then another R1. So this is a pretty tight 90 degree. It's the tightest you can get on Carrera. While we're here, have a little, since we had such a long straight, I wanted to make sure we kept cars on the table. Plus I had the 2-line Speedway signage. So this feels a little tall, but we won't have any problems with anything launching off of the table. But the rest of the guardrail I used the vinyl lattice. It's an 1.5 inch tall, it's a 1/4 inch thick, and it's 8 foot long. And it just, I basically took little blocks of MDF that I had left over from making my, routing my table. And I used that to keep the guardrail down, and it wraps around the turns really nice. As you can see, does a really nice job, and looks very clean. Now, eventually, I would like to print some stickers and do some decals on those just to add some character. And then here's fast laps. We're running fast laps. We got the practice screen up, but here's the station that we can do track calls from. I've got a track call button on all the driver stations, but somebody can manage the race from here and have all the information that they need. If you haven't checked out Fast Laps, go to fastlaps.com, FASLAPS.com. Yeah, it's just a great piece of software. Really, really happy. I need to do an update video because they've added so much here lately that I need to do an update video. So I'll work on that. I would like to come up with nicknames for each section of the track. This little straightaway is a blast. It's going back the other direction into a turn, but I just like it. I like the fact that you can carry a lot of speed, but they're really good braking zones. And I got another one at the end of this. If you can really navigate this, you can run some quick laps. Let me see here. So we'll come down. This turn right here is it's a 230 into it's a 230 into a one, so R2, R3 into an R1, R2, in coming out into an R3, R4 S turn. That's kind of a mixture of R4s and R3s. You guys know I like my S-turns. That is a fun section. Again, you come through that S's into what we're going to call the hairpin. Now, it is not a true Carrera hairpin piece. I didn't do the squeeze, which I could have, but I don't have that squeeze piece, and I just didn't think it was necessary. But man, that's a fun turn. This is where we're seeing a lot of our outs, because you can carry some speed through the S-turns, but you got to get on the brakes to get around this turn. And if you slow down too much, you lose too much time. If you come in too hot, you end up bouncing off the wall. And we even have some marks on the wall already. But yeah, the guardrail, really like it. I'm trying to decide, do I want to carry the guardrail through the S's and down this turn? Do I want to enclose the whole track? I don't know that it's necessary. It doesn't interfere with the reaching for cars that come out of the slot. Down this chute, got my lit Racetrack Scenics 2 lines slot car signage, into a 415 R3 R4 turn, into an R2 R3 turn, into a little straight. And this is nice because I've got room to get back around the plumbing and back behind into the hole. And so that's just a great place to be able to marshal these two turns, coming out of that back stretch and here, the middle stretch. Just really liking this. This seems kind of short, the guardrail here, but once you make this turn, I've not had anything come off the layout yet. And it's kind of protected down back into the front straight. So not a huge tall wall. Maybe we might have some problems with digital. I might need to increase the height of this, but right now this is what we're going to go with because I like it. And then you're shooting down the stretch. Dave Kennedy even gets a little shout out. Magnetic Racing guys. Dusty's Jägermeister. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Table is 24 feet wide by, this section is 8.5 feet. I had to build a 6-inch extension to that corner. And then I built a round extension that it sticks out about, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches all the way around that table. So the only thing that I could consider is expanding the table, moving my YouTube stuff, because I still have some more room. You guys have never seen this, but I've still got probably 12, 15 feet back here. There's Finney's couch. He and Gus, they like to hang out there. But I could come another 4 foot, would put me about here. Move my table, if I moved it. So I could come off of this turn and come this direction with maybe an S. I don't know if that's too much, but if we felt like this was too easy and we needed to add some technical, we could expand the track this way, kind of in a triangle, and do something and even lengthen that straightaway a little longer. I don't think it needs to be longer, but it does give us some options. So that's pretty much it, guys. That is the table. That's the new 2-line Speedway. Hope you like it. Again, I'm trying to build one of the nicest 4-lane home layouts. I want it to feel like a club track. I think I'm getting there. Not there yet, but it's getting close. It's nice and clean. Everything's tidy. I'm really, really proud of that. So I think I need to add a few more guardrails, and then we'll be good to go. So guys, there is the layout, the new layout. Am I 100% finished with it? I don't know. I think only time will tell. We will run a bunch of laps. I will get input. I plan to host some races. Hopefully the 24-hour guys will come and do some practice and just get some laps in on something new and different. So they just have to make the adjustment and get some trigger time in. So as I host those things, I'll get everybody's opinion. Is this end too easy? Because it's fast and it flows really good. Outside of that, is there enough technical? Do I need to make some changes? I have room to expand the table if I need to in length. So right now we're at 24 feet. I could easily go to 36 feet if I needed to. Now, another 12 feet doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but maybe another 4 feet would allow us to do something a little more technical on this end. I don't know. So what do you think? What are some of the things that you like about this layout? What are some of the things that you don't like about this layout? I've already gotten some feedback on some earlier videos that I posted, some sneak peek stuff. And it's all great feedback. Nothing upsets me. I don't get offended when people offer suggestions. I really appreciate it. But really understand that I was going after something that would help us get better for the Nationals race. And that would help us get better at any and every other layout that we go to. I want to build the nicest 4-lane track in the United States. Those are pretty lofty goals. There's a lot of amazing layouts out there. And what you understand is you only have 3 radiuses at 4 lanes with Carrera. You can group R1s and R2s and R3s, R3s and R4s. So you have 3 options. That really limits you, especially with a narrow space like 8.5 feet, if you want a flat track with no bridges. So tracks are going to feel similar because you have fewer options at 4 lanes than you do at 2 lanes. I really think that we have lots of options with this track. I'm really excited about it. Tell me what you think. In the comments, let me know your opinion of this layout. You saw the track footage I posted as part of the tour. Racing 4 wide on this is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to host my first race on it. So what do you think? Am I well on my way of building a really nice club-style track? Because that's what I'm after. So we really like 4 lanes. It's a lot of fun, especially when you get a few people over. So guys, if you like this kind of content, you want to know more about my layout and others, hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, hit the bell so you get notified anytime I put out new content. I really appreciate you tuning in this week. I hope you like the new layout. For those who loved the old layout, I still have the plan. I printed it off. I kept it. We're good. We could always build that back if we wanted. But after running some laps on this, man, I don't know. This thing's awesome. I think I already like it better than the previous one. Thanks for tuning in this week. And guys, just go have some fun racing.